Last week, Knicks legend Earl Monroe, he was in the Boogie Down Bronx for a groundbreaking ceremony for a new building of a public charter school that he started called the Earl Monroe New Renaissance Basketball School. New York Post sports columnist Steve Serby, who is a legend himself like Earl the Pearl, he caught up with the Pearl for his weekly Q&A, and now we get to question Steve all about it. Steve, how are you doing? I have to say, I like the look this week. Very nice blazer, sport coat, or smoking jacket. Not sure what that is. But I like that you also have the hoodie underneath, and you copied me because we both are wearing black hoodies today. So I like the synergy that we have going on.
Yeah, we didn't coordinate this, but again, it's me trying to keep up with the Dexter Henry fashion style.
Hey, man, you're keeping up. You're keeping up.
And I love that. I love that jacket you got on now. That's very nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We both can appreciate each other's jackets. I like that for sure. And I think we both can appreciate Earl the Pearl Monroe. I had a chance. I was at the groundbreaking ceremony the other day up in the Bronx for the school that Earl has started. But I want to talk to you about your Q&A with Earl and Steve. Earl shared that he didn't like the nickname the Pearl at first, and I didn't know this. That was news to me, but eventually he embraced it. How do you think his evolution with that nickname reflects his growth as a person and also a player throughout his career?
Well, it's hard to believe that in November, Earl the Pearl Monroe turns 80 years old, and he's battled some difficulties. He's had over 40 surgeries, mainly on his knee, I believe. But he was in good spirits. But that Pearl nickname came when he was lighting up everybody at Winston-Salem State. Somebody wrote in a column about him scoring 50-something points game after game after game. And the caption read, "These are Earl's Pearls." And again, Earl didn't like it that much, but he grew to like it because he had no choice. Everybody was calling him Earl the Pearl. But his nickname was Black Jesus. And as somebody once said of him, God couldn't go one-on-one with Earl. And the nickname he liked, by the way, was Duke, because I don't know if you're probably too young for this, Dex, a song named Duke of Earl. You don't remember that, do you?
I do not remember that song, no.
No. Well, in 1960, how old were you in 1960?
You said that song came out in 1960?
60. How old were you in 60?
I was not here. I was not here, sir.
Oh, yeah, I knew you weren't there. But anyway, Duke of Earl by Gene Chandler, great song. So that was his favorite nickname. But he was a product of the South Philly playgrounds. And when he was a kid, everybody would dog him. He was terrible by his own admission. So his mother, his beloved mother, Rose, told him, "You're going to get better. Write down the names of all these people that are treating you like this. And one by one, as you get better, scratch them off the notebook." And of course, that's what Earl did. And as Clyde said, when Clyde Frazier became before Clyde and Pearl teamed up on that 73 Knicks championship team, Clyde said that Earl was a nightmare to guard because if he didn't know what he was going to do, how could I know what he was going to do? Earl was as unorthodox as it came. He was a showman. He loved to play to the crowd. He loved to excite the crowd, but he was not a jumper by his own admission. So he had to learn to be tricky with the ball in his hand. And boy, was he ever.
Yeah, very clever, very unique playground style, as I heard Walt Clyde Frazier describe him the other day. Earl the Pearl, one of the greats there for sure. Now, in your conversation with Earl, he seemed proud of how the 73 Knicks remained close even to today. How do you think that bond among teammates contributed to their success, and what does he think about the chemistry on this current Knicks team?
Well, as you may recall, when Earl was traded to the Knicks, it was not his team. It was Clyde's team. It was Willis's team. It was Bill Bradley's team. It was Dave all those. Clyde had to subjugate his ego. And matter of fact, whenever he would go back home to his Philly roots, his former teammates and former friends would tell him, what's the deal? You're not the same player. But he couldn't be the same player. And that's one of his regrets, was that New York really never saw him at his peak. They saw him as a team player, and they certainly appreciate that championship that he contributed to. But he was not the dazzling Earl the Pearl of his youth. But as far as this year's Knicks team, he likes the way they're coached. He likes Tibbs. He likes the Villanova guys, although he just lost one of them in the Karl Anthony Towns trade. He loves Brunson. Everybody loves Brunson. Couldn't understand why he was not a first-round pick. He says he's seen Brunson smile maybe twice, because Brunson is so serious about the game and so serious about winning. He's a student of the game and a natural leader. And the Knicks are in obviously good hands with Brunson. And Brunson, like Earl, understands what it takes to win. And as Pearl told me, if you win a championship in New York, and again, the Knicks have been waiting since 1973, if you win a championship in New York, you'll always be loved. And he believes that Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges and Brunson and now Karl Anthony Towns can lead the Knicks to a championship. And he said he thought they could have beaten the Celtics a year ago. But Earl the Pearl says, beware the Knicks. This could be the year.
All right, that's what Knicks fans want to hear from the legend Earl the Pearl Monroe, that this could be the year. If you want to check out a good Q&A between two legends, check out Steve Serby's Q&A with Earl the Pearl at nypost.com. That is legendary Steve Serby, New York Post sports columnist. Great, with the great fit going on today. Love the blazer with the hoodie. It's hoodie season, Steve. How you doing, man? You good?
By the way, one last thing.
Yeah.
You ran into Dan Cloris at the event, right?
I did, and I had Dan Cloris on with me last week. Fantastic guy.
Did Dan indicate a willingness to do a documentary or a film about Dexter Henry? Right?
No, and this is my regret from that. I should have asked Dan about that, and I feel like he would have been willing to do it. We're both Brooklyn guys. He also has some ties to coaching in East Flatbush, where I grew up, so maybe he will be willing to do it. I got to talk to Dan about it. One of the legends, another legend in terms of filmmaking, for sure.
Well, he'd be remiss if he didn't explore a Dexter Henry film.
You know what? I hadn't thought about it. That's good. All right, we're going to have to bring our minds together and talk all about it. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. See you next week.
Thank you, Dex. Thank you.
Yes, sir.